Hi, my name is Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Multifamily Rockstars. So as you guys know, this is where we interview people that are just flat out crushing it in this business. And we show you the inside scoop as to how multifamily investors, and in this case, self-storage investors, are just creating massive success in their businesses and in their lives as well. And as always, I've got my co-host, who's the director of our massive action team for the Warrior Group, Mark Nagy, on.
Hey, Rod. Hey, happy to be here as always.
Yeah, so we've got an awesome guest today. His name is Dave Snehal, and Dave, I don't remember when Dave joined the Warrior program, but he's started in multifamily. He's got 124 doors there, but just got a big self-storage deal under contract right now, 2,600 self-storage units.
Wow.
And comes from the car business. You know what? I'm going to butcher the bio here, so I'm just going to let Dave tell us. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me on, Rod. Appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
So yeah, just to kind of get into my background, I worked with WorldCom in 2002, and actually was there for about 3 years. 2002 is actually when I was let go, and that was an epiphany moment for me, where I took a few months off, got a pretty good severance package for them, so it gave me some time to kind of decide on what my next steps would be. And it also kind of made me think about, I don't want to have to feel this again, where I've got to, figure out what I'm going to do next if a company goes under, or if my employer is not in the best financial shape. So I figured, how can I do that and take my future into my own hands? And entrepreneurship was the only light that I seen that I can. And it helped that my father was in that realm with a car dealership there, where I was able to join him and venture with him and help grow that business. So I did that for about 12 years before I got into real estate as an agent.
In Chicago, or where was the car dealer?
In Chicago, in the suburbs of Chicago. Yeah.
Okay. And so then you became a real estate agent, and you're still an agent or a broker, aren't you?
Yeah, I started on the residential side in 2015, and then I moved over to commercial with the EXP, and been there since 2019, and then switched over to the commercial side there in late 2020 there.
Yeah, EXP is awesome. I actually went to one of their presentations in Dallas. They were to Mandy, Mandy. She tried to get me to. She tried to get me on with them, and I didn't do it. I was really impressed with it though, and met with some of their high level people. And I didn't do it just because I got my everything else going. It has to be like starting a new business for me, and I just couldn't do it. But I love the model. So then you got into commercial. You're in commercial sales, and then. What prompted you to push through fear to actually take down your first? Well, let me ask you this: when did you join the Warrior program?
So it was kind of simultaneous there. At the end of 2020, I switched over to commercial brokerage, and then I also joined the Warrior program there in October of 2020. I joined your first. I actually attended your first boot camp there in July of 2020 after the pandemic hit.
So it was a virtual one.
Yeah,
it was a virtual one
there. Yeah,
okay.
In July. I've been following you for a while, and then you came to Chicago in 2018. I never pulled the trigger to go to that event, and kick myself now for doing that. But I'm grateful that I was able to join that event there in July virtually, and seeing what the program was all about, and loved the content that you provided and the education you provided, and it worked out really good.
Oh, well, that's awesome. It's funny. I had 800 people scheduled for Orlando in July of 2020, and we all know what happened. I was freaking out. It's like, God, I don't want to refund money, and it was like debilitating. And I literally recorded a video for the virtual boot camp on my freaking phone. I think it's still up on the website. And by the way, if you're listening, guys, we got another virtual event coming up May 6th and 7th, and I don't sell anything there. And so if you're interested in this business, it's kind of a no-brainer, 16 to 18 hours of training, and it's very reasonable. But would you agree that it's a good boot camp, Dave?
Oh, there's so much value you're going to get there. If you can attend it, I would say definitely do it. It accelerated my growth exponentially.
No, thank you for that. Thank you for that. So you joined, and then when did you take down that first deal? When did that happen?
So we were in the process of setting up our action plan there as we're taught in the program. And then it took about 10 months before we found an opportunity that we liked. We looked at a lot of deals. We networked with a lot of folks there within the group. And we had certain metrics that we would like to meet for our investors. And when we present a deal there, and we looked at a deal there that made a lot of sense, and business plan made a lot of sense. The opportunity, the market. Now, market wasn't one that we had looked at previously, but it was also a good growth market that we would consider and research that a little bit more with the team. And we were excited about that opportunity. And there were some pitfalls there up to closing, as there always is. As a broker, I know it's never a straight line to closing, so it's always fun trying to pivot and making sure that you can close a deal that makes sense.
Was that deal with Warriors? I'm assuming it probably was. They were involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And Mark.
How did you go about partnering with those people? What skill sets did maybe you bring to the team? What did they bring to the team? What were kind of the roles on that first deal?
So that's a great question, Mark. My goal was to partner with folks that I aligned with as far as what our vision was, right, for the future there and what they're trying to do. Value add properties is what we were looking for. We're not looking for heavy lifts. We're not equipped for that as being young in this space at that time. So we were looking for a value add opportunity that other experienced partners could help us with. And our strengths was this, and I say our because I have a partner in this business here at Parag. He's also a co-founder there of Synergy REI, our company there. So
he's a Warrior as well. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
And so our goal was this, to be able to help raise some equity there to help close a deal, and then also help on the asset management side and learn that side of the business, their hands on a little bit. So and we've been able to do that the past 11 months since we closed that asset. So we're really excited about helping out the team in that sense, and then also giving our investors updates on how the property's doing.
Yeah. So where was that asset again?
Augusta, Georgia.
Oh, nice. We actually have an asset in Augusta, Georgia ourselves as well. That's funny. So what suggestions might you have? Because, we have a lot of listeners that think about this business, haven't taken action yet. They know they need to get involved. They want to do this. What advice might you give someone that's sitting there on the fence about this business?
What I would say is this: there's a lot of content out there. You can self-educate, but there's nothing that's going to substitute you getting out there and meeting the people that are doing deals and that have the knowledge, that have been in the trenches, and just developing those relationships. I know you say it all the time. Your most successful warriors are the ones that are well connected. I've been hearing that since I joined the group, and I've taken that to heart. If I can at all try, I don't miss an event, a boot camp there to attend, because I meet so many great people. And my focus is always, quality over quantity, because, when we go to those events, you meet a lot of people, and, I try to spend at least a good amount of time with folks and network and get to know them a little bit instead of just, getting 100 business cards. So, your network is your net worth, and that's very true.
So what were some of those hurdles then? Because I know you mentioned you had gone to one of Rod's events in 2018, and then 2 years went by, I guess, and then you went to another one.
No, he didn't go. He said he wanted to go, but he didn't go.
Thanks for reminding me, Mark. I kick myself all the time for that.
Oh, well.
2 years ahead. But
even better for the question then. What do you think were some of those, I guess, biggest mental hurdles for you that you had when you wanted to get started but didn't? What was going through your mind?
For me, it was I had been to some real estate events before, and they were high pressure sales, and sign up for our program, and I was kind of weary of folks that were holding events, and it was just something that I was like, I'm going to follow this guy. I'm going to, kind of see how he is. What I loved about Rod was the mindset piece. I'm real big on the mindset piece. And, Rod, as you join the Warrior program, he sends you books. And now I'm a reader. I wasn't an avid reader, but now I'm a reader. And I've always got Audible on in the morning. They're doing my miracle morning routine there, thanks to Rod there. So, just the growth that I've been able to experience since joining the group has been exponential in my personal life and professional life as a broker and as an investor.
Well, I appreciate that. That's awesome. By the way, guys, if you're listening and you have an interest in checking out the Warrior program, to apply, you text the word crush to 72345, and we look you over, you look us over, and if it's a fit, it's a match made in heaven, because my Warriors are killing it. Again, text crush to 72345 to apply. Oh gosh, and you'd said something just now that I wanted to circle back on. I lost it. Mark, go ahead and ask your next question.
Well, let's talk about the next deal. I know you're doing 2,600 plus self-storage units that you're closing on here soon. What do you think are kind of the pros and cons of self-storage versus multifamily? How did you even get into this? Was it presented to you? Did you go out and search for self-storage? Tell us kind of about the story of this deal and what you've been seeing are the pros and cons.
No, that's a great question. So it goes back to networking, and I'm just talking to folks that are in the space there, and I've always had an interest in it. What I like about self-storage is it's a little bit less management intensive than multifamily. I love multifamily as an asset class, of course.
Excuse me, it's a lot less management intensive.
I was being nice. Right?
All right.
No, and the game plan on that portfolio there that we're closing on this month, later this month, will be to automate a lot of the operations. So yeah, Rod, you're right. A lot less management intensive. So it's very attractive in that sense. I mean, and there's a lot less institutional players currently in self-storage, right? Whereas multifamily is heavily saturated with institutional investors, right? And so those are just two of the high level things that I really like about self-storage, and I've been following it, and we have some folks in the group that focus on that, and I talked to them and expressed some interest in that, and we were able to link up and find a good opportunity.
We've got Warriors that I'm sure, I know who you're talking about, probably Powell and Jens or whatever. These guys are doing a ton of self-storage. They're killing it. They're exemplary Warriors. So, the thing with self-storage though is you're not going to get the huge value add bumps that you get from multifamily. So there's a trade-off. I mean, it's a much more stable asset. Really, honestly, believe it or not, I think it's more institutional than multifamily, but from a investment standpoint, it's more stable, which institutions typically like, which is surprising. I was not aware that they didn't have a big level of interest in that asset class, but that's interesting to hear. I really don't know much about it at all, and I should learn it. Scott, my partner's done a gazillion dollars worth of self-storage, so I should actually bend his ear about it. But I find anytime I dilute my focus, everything suffers. So I stay in my lane as much as I can. But let me ask you this: getting into this business in general, were there any epiphanies for you? Any aha moments? Like, okay, now I freaking get it. Anything come to mind when I asked that question?
As a broker, it came down to, it would never be a straight line to closing. So even when we got under contract on our first deal, I was waiting for the shoe to drop, and of course the shoe did drop as the interest rates went up in March last year, as they did their first rate hike, and the terms on our debt scenario changed. So we had to go back to the drawing board and find a better debt terms to make that deal work. So we were able to do that in the end. But it was a lot of nerve-wracking phone calls back and forth between partners and also lenders and brokers. And that's something that, like I said, you can't replace that kind of experience without going through it and really just kind of being in the trenches and progressing through it.
And you had a lot of support, obviously, with the team you're involved with, which is huge. Yeah.
Now, do you think that deal wouldn't have worked if you weren't able to get new debt? Would it have just been less cash flow? What do you think would have happened?
No, we had hard earned money up, a substantial amount of it as well, and we were in jeopardy of losing that money. So there was a lot of uncertainty on how we were going to move forward if we weren't able to get the right debt for that property. So it was a painstaking moment there. Actually, a painstaking week or two there that we had to pivot.
Yeah, that's okay. You get a little uncertainty, you get a little fear in this business. It happens. And I was just going to ask you to share a war story, but that you just did. So, one thing you mentioned when you were saying nice things about the Warrior program, you said that it's helped you on a personal level. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so my focus has also been on, being a better communicator, being more intentional when I spend time with my family, and just being more present, right? Don't be on your phone. Just simple things that sometimes we take for granted. Just value memories over things, right? And creating memories, that is, instead of just, oh yeah, I gotta have this, or I'd be great if I could have this. And it's great to have things. Don't get me wrong, but just really center yourself and understand what's really important as we have a finite time of
I spent a lot of time on that at my boot camps and the Warrior trainings, just because it's more important than the money. Honestly, it is. And my next question I was going to ask you, which ties into something you said. You said my love language is gifts, and I give lots of gifts, lots of books, and one of them, of course, is Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Morning, you mentioned, which is an extraordinary way to start the day. By the way, I got a cold plunge. And I got Wim Hof's book about, he's that Iceman guy. And I sitting out here and I haven't got in it yet. I dipped a toe in. I'm like, holy crap, this is cold. And so I took my first cold shower today for 30 seconds to freezing my butt off. But I guess you do that for 10 days and then I can go get in that plunge. But so I don't know how that's going to be. But
you made a mistake, Rod. It's called plunge for a reason. If you dip a toe in, then you're not going to plunge in. That's probably the problem. Yeah,
that's the problem. But anyway, I was just thinking about the Miracle Morning. Are there any books that you've enjoyed reading about the business, buddy? Is anything, or if it'd be easier question, are there any tools that you like in the business that you're using right now? Either one or both.
There's a bevy of books that I've read, and just to touch on your cold shower there. Florida doesn't have cold water. We've got cold water here in Chicago, and I take a cold shower every morning. And it's probably not like a cold plunge, but it is really cold water.
Wow, no kidding. Good for you, man. And it really charges you up, right? It's supposed to be incredibly healthy.
I'm ready to go run through a brick wall after that, and I can take on the day just no problem. And I don't really have spells unless I eat like a heavy lunch. But yeah, it helps me power through the day very good, and learned that from Tony Robbins, where the hot and cold treatment. I spent some time in the sauna there in the gym, and then come in and take a cold shower. So definitely a good way to start the day there, and that's been a routine for me as well. So nice. Use that cold plunge, you'll love it.
Yeah. No, I no question. Guys, if you're listening, check it out. Check out cold plunges and check out just cold therapy, because it's got a lot of benefits. So I'm really excited. It's supposed to help with inflammation, which I get a lot of, tendonitis and crap like that. I'm old as dirt, but it helps with all of that. Any tools that you're using in your business yet? Have you incorporated any CRM or project management software or anything like that you've started to utilize yet?
So yeah, good question. We use Slack for communications there with our team there. CRM, we're using HubSpot there to communicate with our investors and just educate them. Looking at implementing some other services here, and just the biggest thing is surrounding ourselves there with folks that can help brainstorm, mastermind. Really big on the masterminding aspect of Think and Grow Rich that we read about. I'm sure a lot of your listeners know all about that. So just talking to folks and learning more and seeing what's working and pivoting as things are always changing, right? Ever changing in our industry and really in the world.
Oh, AI is insane. I mean, crazy. We're starting to take a look at that. Yeah. There's a lot of tools out there. You can get overwhelmed, but if you can focus on one or two, that will really move the needle for you, I think you'll be okay. Good point.
So Dave, how do you define success in multifamily? And I know you touched on it briefly at the very beginning of you never wanted to be in a position to where someone could fire you or you're let go of a job or whatever. And people talk about door count, and I get questions all the time. Well, what does that really mean? And, how does that equate to success? How would you define success in multifamily, whether it's doors, cash flow, whatever? What is your success goal for multifamily?
And not just multifamily, in life in general. So start with multifamily, but I want to hear what success means to you in general as well.
For me, it's just delivering, right? It's, doing what you're saying, and doing what you say you're going to do, right? If you've got a business plan, look at it 2, 3 times, 4 times. Make sure you can deliver on that business plan. Whatever it is, we're stewards of capital to our investors. We want to make sure that they feel safe investing with us because we have a practical business plan that we can deliver on, and then we have to be sure of that as well. So to me, that's success. Door counts are great. Cash flow is king at the end of the day. You can have a million doors, and if your cash flow isn't where it needs to be to corroborate that door count, then it doesn't mean much to me. But the level of success, obviously, full cycle deals there. What kind of returns have you been able to achieve? So this is all stuff that's front and center for me as we progress through our journey here in commercial real estate.
Nice. What's the why that's driving you? The biggest one?
It's like a lot of folks. It's family. It's just freedom, not having to trade time for money. That was, that epiphany I had in 2002 there as I got let go from the corporate job. I've been able to be an entrepreneur and, blessed to have good opportunities. And obviously we all have bumpy roads throughout those times, but that's what helps us, appreciate the progress. 1% better every day. And, at the end of the year, you're a lot better than you started off.
Nice. Yeah. It's funny. You worked for WorldCom and it's probably a good thing you got laid off, brother, because I think a lot of people actually just got cut off when that whole thing imploded and Bernie went to jail and everything else. So, I think that was a gift. Are there any quotes that you like that you live by or you hang on your wall or anything? And you may not, and that's okay if not. But I mean, is anything come to mind as a quote that someone has told you or you enjoy and get value from?
I've got a few of them. I'm big on quotes too. So,
okay.
You miss every shot that you don't take, right? So you have to take some risks in life. And obviously calculated risks are better than just risks, but you have to. And a lot of times, we get in our own way, and I've done that myself. Sometimes you just have to pull the trigger, and, even transitioning from residential to commercial as a broker there, I was like, oh my God, this is a whole different realm. So I started, educating myself through the CCIM program and getting my designation on that. And then
you did. Oh, that's hard. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's impressive. That's a hard designation to get. Okay, good for you. I'm sorry. And just taking steps. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you. Please continue.
No, yeah. So just taking steps, like you sometimes if you see the big picture and it looks overwhelming, but there's small steps that you have to take to get to that big picture. So just start taking the small steps really in life. And I think that's where we sometimes as humans might overlook what we can do here in a long period of time there. And just take the small steps there to begin the journey and then progress as you go on.
It's it. It's and that first step's the hardest. It's the most scary, and it can be the biggest step of your life. Like Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith, the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but you got to take that step. And there's also the law of the first deal. It's the scariest. It takes the longest, like you described your scary deal, and you're freaking out, and then and I see it, and I'm sure if we have you back on the show in a year, there'll be another 4 or 5 deals under your belt, because that's inevitable every single time that it happens, and people get bigger and faster. Well, listen, brother, I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been great to see you again, and I appreciate you adding some value, and I'm sure that we'll talk again very soon.
Yes, thanks for having me, Rod.
So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. They're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. And maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, incredible cash flow, and they think, well, it's just scary. Buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. See, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and they own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now, we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly, believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345, or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now, again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.